Today we're going to talk about parameters and how to use them. Parameters can be affected in three different categories. First category is the product category. So if you double click the cabinet, it brings up the product editor. Also, you can single click the cabinet and click edit here. If you go to the parameters tab, select product parameters. This is the parameters for each cabinet. That same menu is the same in each spot. So this will just affect the single cabinet that you've opened. Now, if you go here and you hit job parameters, this will bring up the parameters for this whole job. It'll separate it between different types of libraries that you have in your job. Usually you just select the one that you're trying to work with. So you click OK, and that brings up, again, the same box. The third place is in your main library, which is under Libraries, Products, and then Parameters. This affects your whole library. So for the One Hillcrest Cabinets library, this will affect the entire library. So anything that you change in here changes for every cabinet that you drop into a job from this point forward. So again, 3 levels. The first level, which is the product parameters, and then hit select product parameters. This is the one we're going to test around in so I don't mess with any of my settings. Then you have edit job parameters. Find your library, click OK. Same thing, brings up the difference. There's one difference between these 3 menus. Between the 2 top tier menus and the menu in the product editor. So here we can edit these however we want. It brings up a bunch of different options. And then in the product editor, you actually have to go to the parameter, click here, and it won't let you edit it. You actually have to bring it in. So you can select multiple by holding either Shift to select a bunch or holding Control to select a few individual ones, and then you click OK, brings it into this menu, and then you click here, and that's how you edit the parameters in there. So for the job parameters, you click there, and then this way you can affect any of these ones without dropping it into anything. Same thing goes for the main library parameters. You edit them right on there. You don't have to bring them into anything. Now, another thing to say too is that for us, we have a few things that we like to edit on the fly. So let's say for instance, the 3 drawer. In the parameters, we've preloaded a few things that we like to flip back and forth every once in a while. So say for instance, I want to add applied doors. That way I don't have to upload it. And this is within my library. So every time I drop a cabinet in, these will be preloaded into the overrides category. Also change our back recess when we have an island. That's just this distance here, so we can screw our back panel in easier. So yeah, so that's basically that. So what we're going to show you is what each thing kind of affects. So the nice thing about the parameters menu is each one has a little question mark. So joint fast, we'll start with the very first one, so doors. This is the overlay. As you can see, this is for face frame doors. How much your face frame door is going to overlay on the sides. Face frame again, how much is going to overlay on the top. Face frame overlay, how much is going to overlay on the bottom. This is the opening in which you need for a top drawer. this is the front height for the top drawer. Pair gap is the gap between doors. That's for frameless and face frame. These are a bunch of frameless reveals, so it's the same idea. Frameless reveal top. Frameless reveal top for the uppers. Frameless reveal bottom for the bases. Frameless reveal bottom for the uppers. Frameless reveal side, usually that's a 16th because when you split the difference. The nice thing is that you can set a frameless reveal for a finished end. Oops. Yeah, so you set it for a finished end separately. So if you want to do something different and say flush for a finished end, you can do that. Set it at 0. You can set it if you have an adjacent cabinet. So if there's a cabinet are sitting side by side, you see you can change that as well. You can change it if there's a filler adjacent. So if you have a full filler here, you want to make sure that you have, if it's a flush filler, you want to add a little bit for extra space. Applied end, you want to make sure you have a little bit extra there as well, because if you don't, you tends to run a bit tight. So 1/8 is good there. Frameless reveal mid. This is for between drawers and doors. What you want to have for space. Inset door reveal. This is you're doing inset doors. What do you want for your reveal? Applied door width adjustment. So this will allow you to add a little bit to an applied door if you want to when you have it on. This is the outset, so bit distance from here to the back of the door. So the face tab this allows you to pick from construction method, from frameless to face frame inset to regular standard face frame. Allows you to pick all your rail sizes, your style width, your center style width. You can also add other things like extend. When it's a blind style, you see it'll extend it a little bit more. And you can apply a bead to the inside of a face frame as well. Ends, this is more geared towards your construction method. So this tells you whether you want a finished skin. Do you skin the cabinet? To use your base cabinet end to the floor. So, we're using adjustable legs, so this is usually no. But if you do have some cabinets where you want to run it to the floor, you just change it to yes. Tall cabinet ends to floor. We usually run the talls to the floor. Doors for finished ends. So this tells you whether you want applied door, panelized end. Usually the better one is applied door. Then you can have a full door. You can select it as applied door and then make a material template that runs it as just a regular panel, so it's nice for that. Applied door position, flush at face or behind the frame. That's for face frames. If it's not face frame, it would just make it flush to the case instead of protruding flush to the door. There's some other parameters here that you may use, but potentially not. Finished styles end to the floor, that's for face frame. And miters, end miters for the face frame. Go to the interior tab. So this one's nice. The ones that I use enough are this one. Gives you the adjustable shelf depth minus. So it's how much you want to recess your adjustable shelf back from the front edge of the case. Anything else in here? Partition style. This is nice. So if you have, double drawers, and you're using, say, Blum tandem box drawers, your drawer face, then you need to, split the difference on when you have a single partition between drawers. you can set Mozaik to automatically do a double, and then your drilling remains the same for drawers. So that's kind of nice. Toe, this is how you change your toe height, your toe recess. The recess is what's from the front of the case to where it recesses back. Side toe recess. Toe skin is if you want to run a toe skin around the room. We usually select yes, just because that's technically what we're doing anyways. You can also run a detached toe, so it'll cut out a separate piece for the whole toe base. Again, we do adjustable legs, so it's not really relevant to us. You can do a dado in the toe. Like, there's a lot of options for toe stuff. We don't really use those. Tops allows you to change. This one we use a lot for when you're doing a base cabinet top. You know, I'll bring it in and show you. This one will, well, this isn't a base cabinet. We'll just change it to a base. So right now, we'll set this at 24 deep. See, it's set at stretchers. So it's giving you 2 little stretchers there. And if you perhaps want to change it to a full top, you just change it there to a full top and it makes it a full top. This is how you set your stretcher width. You can also set stretchers on the, or change the top for the wall cabinets as well. So nailers, here you can add a nailer to the back of the cabinet. So nailer on the top and back. That's usually if you're doing super thin backs. We usually just do a full back, so we don't use that. Sometimes it comes in handy though to know where it is. Nailers, backs. So here you have a full back, you know, all cabinets for the full back. We've got a back recess. You select your back joint. Qualified tenon is what we use. What style of back. Here, let's go here. Because then you can select different styles. So plant on. This is your back unfinished end joint. So if you have an unfinished end against a back, it'll do a qualified tenon with a dado. You can do a flush back, flush with the back. You can do this equals the case depth. So that's going further, and this is pulling your back recess setting in your parameters. Plant on back just goes on top, and then that goes into it. It's very simple. If you just click through all these, you'll get a good idea of what each thing does. Blind dado setback. If you set blind dados, you can. This will set the parameter for where your stop dado ends. Then we go to scribes. Scribes you don't use that much, but you can add a scribe to, you know, top scribe, end scribe. Basically what this does is it drops the top a little bit. Dados, this is, once you set the dados folder, you don't really go back to it again, so you may want to get a Mozaik guy to come and set that up for you. So you set your dado depth. This is the depth, or you can do it yourself if you really feel confident. The depth, then you have, these are usually all the same. This is the blind dado setback again. Then you have the rear blind dado setback, so that's coming from the back side. Then you have the qualified tenon thickness. So this is the thickness of the tab that you're going to use. Bear in mind if you're using a 3/8 down cutter or 3/8 cutter in general, you got to make sure that this is bigger than that bit. Otherwise, this dado you will not be able to cut. Mozaik will try to intelligently pick the right tool for the job, but you know, if you're trying to get it to use a 3/8 down cutter and you set the dado, the qualified dado thickness to like 1/4 inch, it's not going to do it. Dado slop, this is where it gives you how much slop you want. So material thickness plus the dado slop. use flip side dados. This is something that is something you should follow, because if you set it up with qualified tenons, you very possibly could be sending parts out that are doing flip side machining, so you need machine parts on both sides. Usually you'd want to, if you don't know for sure what's what and you want to just make sure that you're sending out the parts right, this should be set to yes. Otherwise, you can set it to no, and that stops you from having to flip all the tops and bottoms. It just puts all the machining on the same side. So it's nice for that. At least you can, if you're doing, and then another thing is if you're doing a cabinet that's not symmetrical, you're going to want to make sure this is set to yes, because the top and bottom are going to be reversed, so you're going to flip it upside down to do the top and bottom. Fasteners, this is how you activate in the, let's just go to it. So under hardware, fasteners, this is how you activate the part templates and the joint templates. That's another video altogether. So you go here, you drop it in, then you can select which fastener you're setting up. Boring, this is how your machine is drilling for shelf pins and stuff like that. You can set up a full line borer, we'll just line bore the whole thing. You can set up hinges, shotgun bore, just line bores the whole thing, but the hinges are bored separately. Holes, you get to select your spacing and distance. Then you can select holes per shelf, which are 1, 3, 5, and 7 holes per shelf. We usually do series of 7 holes. Hole diameter, traditionally 5 millimeter. Distance from the front edge, these are all helpful things. Distance from the rear. And then closet stuff. Quite frankly, we don't do closets, so we don't really use any of these. But again, if you want to look into here and see what any of these are, gives you a baseboard notch or anything like that. We're not really a closet company, so we don't use that. Frameless rails are nice because, for if you're doing frameless cabinets and you want to have a vertical rail here instead of a horizontal stretcher for when you have a sink cabinet or something like that, we use frameless rails to set that up. So that's nice for that. And then this is where you set up custom parameters, which we're not going to do today. And another nice thing is you can add other parameters too, your own parameters. And we use those too, which we can teach in another video. But that's basically it. So you got 3 spots where you can use it. There, in the cabinet, in the job, and globally for all cabinets that you bring in. Now when you do a new job, it will copy this whole parameters setup into the job. So if you change something in your full parameters, it does not affect the job parameters, because the job parameters is a complete copy of the parameters that are from the library. So you can make adjustments to your main library without adjusting all the jobs. The job parameters has a complete copy of its own thing. So that's about it for this video. See you on the next one.